I didn't want to be a bad example for my younger brothers, so that's why I finished. I really didn't feel like it, but I did because I didn't want to keep the same thing going.
No doubt. And I think about when you said that your parents separated, and you went with mom, right? Who was his Mother Freeman. We called her Mother Freeman. She was our grandmother. But you still maintain a close relationship with your dad.
Yes.
Right? And I would like to ask you, how important do you think a father is in the life of a male child?
Well, I think it's in keeping with your the first letter of fame is faith. I look at my father as my example of faith, and I was always taught by him that faith was the foundation of my being. He demonstrated it, and he taught it. He was also my Sunday school teacher. So everything I know about the Bible and all the Bible stories, I learned from him.
No doubt.
And he was a man of principles and action, and he's always demonstrated it.
No doubt. Well, I think that's just interesting that you mentioned about your dad being your Sunday school teacher. Anybody who's followed me knows that I often refer to my childhood as being one that was interesting. And I say that because anytime I'm speaking, and I'm speaking from a religious standpoint, in fact, I think I just referenced last week that my parents were married when I was very young. In fact, I was 9. And so coming into the marriage, because it wasn't just a marriage of the two of them, but it was a marriage of the families, it was a pretty interesting mixture because we were Christian and my mom married you, and at that time you were Muslim. And so that in and of itself was an interesting thing. I think I would be remiss without asking you this about the whole thing of, you said, of course, your dad taught you Sunday school, but I remember Mother Freeman was a pastor, right?
Yes.
So your Mother Freeman was a pastor, and Deacon Cason was of course a deacon. How did you go from having a mother who's a pastor and a father who's a deacon to practicing Islam?
I think that's a good question. I think I demonstrated that I was studious. I always studied. And to be truthful with you, my elder brother had become a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thought that that was not the right religion. I had been taught that they spread their message by force and with the sword. So I went to get him out. He had told me that if I could convince the minister, prove the minister wrong, he would come back to the church.
Really?
So I went down there as an agent of Jesus to save my brother.
Right.
But when I got there, the logic that I was presented was stronger than what I was presenting.
Right.
And I found that it was more, not so much religious, in as much as it was a social reformation. You have to understand, this was during the time of Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X. All this is in the same time, late 60s.
Right.
And so I decided to give it a try. I didn't give up my Christianity. I think that's important to say. What I saw was, it was an enhancement of what I had learned in Christianity, just had different terminologies.
Right.
For different aspects of the religion.
Right. And let me ask you this. You said that you finished high school because you wanted to be a great example to the ones coming behind you. How do you feel that you're choosing the religion? How do you feel like that impacted, do you think that impacted your education? Do you think that impacted your desire for education or a desire to stay on the right path?
Well, to be truthful with you, yes. They stressed seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. And like I said, at the time, I thought that what he was teaching was supreme wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. which was in keeping with what I had learned from my father.
Right.
So I gave up the pursuit of engineering because I saw that as secular knowledge and less than what I would learn if I pursued the knowledge of God. So I actually made a promise and a commitment to pursue the knowledge of God independent study with the same vigor and intensity that I would have pursued the degree in engineering.
Oh, that's awesome. That is great. Yeah. Well, then you mentioned the engineering piece, and I know that you were the only black metallurgist
Yes.
at Eastern Stainless Steel.
Yes.
And most possibly, you say, in the whole of the United States.
Yes.
How'd you get to that position? You started talking about how you went into the program. You were in an apprenticeship, so to speak.
Oh, well, yeah, these are two different programs.
Okay.
Okay, that apprenticeship was in Bethlehem Steel. And I only stayed in it for about a year and a half.
Why?
Because when I accepted the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they wanted to open up a school. And they didn't have anybody who understood the new math. And they came to me.
Wait a minute. What was the new math? What was the new math?
That's what I wanted to know. But I asked them what was it, and it says algebra, trigonometry, geometry.
Oh, okay.
So I said, I don't think that's new, but I do understand it.
Right.
Well, they said none of us understand it.
Right.
I'm like 19 years old at the time. I said, I don't know anything about teaching. I understand how to do that type of math.
Right.
They said, well, we can send you to some PhD professors who can give you the curriculum and teach you how to teach. And then we want you to teach the other teachers how to teach it.
Right.
And that's how they started their math program.
Right.
So I pursued it, and I studied under two PhD mathematicians and became the math instructor. What happened was I quit working in the steel mill so that I could do that.
Right.
And that was faith involved because they paid me 1/4 of what I was making in the steel mill.
Right.
And so that's from that I was also the only male instructor, so I was the dean of the boys as well as their math teacher.
Right.
And that eventually led to me being made the captain of the FOI so that I could do with the fathers what I was doing with the children.
Which was what? Teaching them?
Teaching and training manhood.
Okay.
That's pretty much what it ended up being. I was also instrumental in helping people develop trades and skills because I only taught school half a day.
Right.
So the rest of my day was dedicated to trying to help get other things done that was in need of the community.
Oh, no doubt. Well, I just want to say this is, of course, my dad who was instrumental in helping all of the polygrads to learn that math. I can remember back when we lived on Norwood Avenue, you had a chalkboard in the basement, and we had to come down and learn math lessons. We had to learn reading lessons as well, and this was in addition to what we did in school. And Dad would have us, he would print out all these dittos and have all these math equations on them. And we were also reading The Community of Self. That was a book that we were required to read. And I can recall sometimes Mom's shouting down there, Saafir, give them kids a break. And he would not. He did not give us a break. So I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for that. Because we all went through, and probably we were better for it for what you did. But I just want to dispel some myths, because we have this opportunity and this platform. Just to back it up, you said that you were the dean of boys. Yes. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands that there was a twinship. There was also education for the girls. Yes. You just were not.
I taught the female teachers.
Okay.
Mathematics, and they taught the girls.
Okay. Now, can you just explain to the audience why there was a separation?
Well, there was a separation of the sexes mainly for moral consciousness and to make a concentrated development. The boys, we practiced that even in setting in the regular congregational meetings. The women sat on one side of the assembly hall and the men sat on the other side.
Right.
We never mixed.
Right.
So we kept the boys in and teaching them things about manhood, how to provide, how to secure, how to prepare and be a productive member in society, make sure you get gainful employment and take care of your family. Right. The women were taught by the women. I'm not sure what all they taught them, but I'm pretty sure they taught them how to be a mother, yes, how to rear their children, and a good husband.
No doubt.
And a good wife. Sorry about that.
Yes, sir. So then you mentioned that after the teaching, well, you came into the nation, and then after the teaching, you were then named captain of,
yes,
of the FOI.
Yes.
Right? And I know, but I just want to be totally thorough so that everyone who's watching understands the difference between the FOI and the nation. So could you explain to us the difference between that and and plus give us the backstory, because I love the backstory of how you came in and you were the understudy to Yusuf Shaw and yes, all of that. Could you give us the backstory for that until you rising to the position of captain?
Okay. Well, after I began to teach the math, learn math, and begin to teach math, there were other people who were captains of the nation, of the community at that time. I served under that captain as I was an instructor in the school. One of the ministers that we had, his name was Clyde Rockmont, he's passed away now, had left, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad sent a new minister from New York. His name was Louis Omar. He came down. He used to be Malcolm's assistant, and because he was progressive under Malcolm, he was the best candidate. When Minister Farrakhan was sent to New York, he got there. Omar was like his assistant, and when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked for somebody to take another city, he nominated Omar, and Omar was sent to Baltimore.
Right.
So when he came to Baltimore, he was dissatisfied with the captain that was there, so he replaced him with another captain. And I'm serving under him, and then I'm not sure what happened, but 6 months, a year go by, he's changed him out, get another captain, and I'm serving under him, and then another one go, and then another one. So by the time it got to captain number 5, because I was already helping him with the school and with the boys and with the business,